My name is Hubert Martin. I work with Walk. We have a garden here down in Armagh Road, just behind the rear of the school column. And I believe a few just have questions for me which is need answered.
Okay, so Hubert, thanks a million. The first question that came in is somebody is wondering, why do salads bolt?
Well, every plant is capable of both, right?
Okay.
That's the one answer. Some salads are more prone to it than others. But the reason the plant bolts is it wants to reproduce itself. So if you have a drought, a dryness, right, and then you get a heavy burst of rain, the plant will think there's something wrong and it will go to seed. And of course, that's how it reproduces itself, from its seed. And you know, it's the same applies for the likes of beetroot. A lot of people this year would have found that when they planted their beetroot and it was fine early on, and then all of a sudden they just saw this big stalk coming up out of the centre, which is mean it's going to seed. Because the best one of your grown beetroot is bolt hardy. It's designed not to bolt that fast.
And Hubert, is it because of the weather that we've had this particular year in 2020, the year of...
Yeah, we're getting a lot of different things happening. Like the aphids thrived. Right.
In the weather this year in Ireland.
For some reason there was lots of aphids.
Okay.
You know? I see very few wasps. Right now, the natural predator of aphids is the wasp.
Ah, okay.
Right, and so that's why around September we see an awful lot of wasps. Right, around because they're craving sugar, because all the aphids are dead, they're all gone, and the wasp is craving sugar. So it'll go after anything. It'll go after food on your table, it'll go after apples, it'll go after anything you can get sugar from.
I see. So. Okay. A number of people sent in questions around mould and spots on their plants. So in particular we got a question around courgette leaves with mould. Broccoli plants, somebody wants to know, why do they go mouldy in the summer? Similar mould spots on lemon balm, and herbs and plants that have spots on their leaves, particularly the mint, basil and thyme where they were planted. So yeah, and there may be some other plants as well that have mould on them.
You know, because the weather, we haven't had a hell of a lot of sun. We've had a lot of rain, so you're going to get dampness. And with dampness comes mildew.
Okay.
Right? Now, when you're planting the likes of brassicas, you know, even, you know, cucumbers, melons, courgettes, very important to give them plenty of space where they can get lots of air.
Okay.
Because if they're too tight to each other, the air can't get in at them and mildew thrives, because it's not being dry. We're not getting the dryness of the sun to dry the plant out. So that's how your mildew forms, you know. What I would say to people that have these white spots, cut the plant back to where they have no leaves that are full of this mould.
Okay.
Right? If it's gone too far, you know, I probably would destroy the plant, was me, if it's gone too far.
Can it transfer to other plants, Hubert?
Yes, it can.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I mean, there's that, and like the very thing people should be aware of in polytunnels, especially, right, is a thing called botrytis. Right.
Okay.
Now, botrytis it's spores, right? And how it spreads is, if you hit off the plant, it sends out spore. It blows and it travels in the air and lands on other plants.
Yeah.
And develops through that.
Okay.
That's one of them. I'm not saying that is their problem.
Yeah.
Not having seen the plant, you see, it's very, you know, I saw a photograph, but it was very hard to make out in the photograph. Another thing now at this time of year is people with gardens would want to be watching out for is the beautiful white butterfly.
Which we've seen a few flying behind your head.
Okay. Right, he's going to land on your cabbages. And he's going to lay his eggs there. And then what's going to happen, then legs are going to hatch out into larvae. And then little worms go around and they have a good snack on your cabbages.
A question around bindweed that landed in our garden last year and we're trying to curb its growth. Have you got any tips around that?
The thing about bindweed is pulling it away at the base of the root is just no good. Okay? You have to get down and get the root. and you have to get every bit of the root. Now, if it's confined to a small area, now it's the time then to really get control of it.
Okay.
Right. If that means sacrificing a few plants that are there,
Okay.
sacrifice them, take them out. You maybe have to replant them. Take them out, get into the soil, get that root. You have to get all the root.
Okay.
Right. The smallest bit of root will grow again.
Sunflowers, we love sunflowers here, have a few very dry leaves on the lowest ones and they're a bit broken. Have you got any hints around that?
No, just remove them. Right?
Just remove the
yeah,
deads.
remove them. You'll find that the rest of the plant up top will thrive, will carry on.
Okay,
you know.
perfect. Also, tomatoes seem to be getting yellow from the bottom up. Now, is that normal or what can I do against it? The fruit on the tomato plant is looking healthy.
Now, again, it depends the variety you're growing. But this year I've found that I've had that same problem. Now, there's a couple of things could be causing it. Could be too much water. We're not getting enough sun to dry the soil out, so the plants are kind of sitting in water, the roots. Which is one, if you have a dog, right?
Go on.
And dog's urine will kill the tomato plant. And
cause it to go yellow?
it causes it to go yellow, and then eventually it just dies.
All right,
you know, I mean, it just can't get over it. Dog's urine is deadly on tomato plants.
Okay.
You know?
Grand. And the next one was around peas or Mangetout. Now this person had an awesome growth of their Mangetout and now it's turning yellow. So what she wants to know, is it just coming naturally to the end of their life or is it too dry? It also looks like a bit of mildew. So this time of year, what do you reckon,
It's coming
Hubert?
to the end.
Okay.
Right? Now, what I would suggest is remove the foliage, take out the plants altogether, but cut the root at the base, because leave the root in, because the root has nodules on it which contain nitrogen, which is very, very good for the soil. So leave all the roots in the soil.
Okay,
but
very
take
good.
the foliage away.
Lovely, and the nitrogen then would be good for the soil. Yeah.
And don't forget also, you can save some peas pods for next year's growth.
Oh yeah,
you know, you can take the pods off, leave the peas in them. You know, if they dried out, you know, so keep them for next year and plant them again next year. You'll have more peas.
Lovely. So this is about the old greenfly or the aphid. The currants from this person has been attacked by the greenfly or the aphids. We've been squishing them and earwigs or ants are feasting on any remaining. What should I do about the damaged leaves or any tips for new growth?
Currants are always getting attacked, right? But currants should be ready to pick this time of year. So and the aphids, they don't do the plant really that much harm.
Okay.
You know, so, you know, it's not affecting your crop, you know, so, you know, I wouldn't worry about them. You know? Now, if you're overly worried about them, make yourself up a patch of washing up liquid, right? Make it real sooty, right? And spray it on them. Right?
Okay, just in a spray gun bottle.
What it does is it suffocates them.
Okay.
Right, so you
be
can
the
do
end
that.
of them.
But there will be eggs that'll come, so every, you know.
Okay. You need to get through the life cycle.
Yeah, 14 days, spread them again. If you're really that concerned about them, you know. But to me, on currants, it wouldn't be a worry.
Okay, great. So this person is looking for advice on low maintenance plants that will be planted in a large pot in the garden. Now, we asked what the person likes and they like lavender and they like dandelions, so you were suggesting that maybe this is a person who likes bees and the kind of nice colours and all the rest.
Definitely, they can grow lavender in a pot. Right, they can grow hebes in a pot. We have a very good one in the centre of the garden here. If you want to take the video around, just show them quickly.
Yeah.
And as you can see, there's bees on it.
Oh, there is too, yeah.
You know, so that grows very well in the pot. Okay, very low maintenance, you know. Also, yeah, you can grow geraniums, but geraniums you would have to take in at the end of summer. Okay. And have somewhere, because if they get a belt of frost, they're gone. Okay. Right? Yeah.
Is there anything for in the winter that the person could have?
Well, you see, the likes of rhododendrons, they can grow very well in the big pot. Okay. Right? Camellias, that's another one, can grow in a big pot. You know, if you go into your garden centre, they will tell you exactly what will grow in pots for you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very little maintenance. The most maintenance is the watering. You know, they have to be watered. Another one is hydrangea.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
If you just have a look there, that's in a pot, right? And again, it looks a bit yellow, but this year a lot of things seem to be looking a bit yellow, you know, so it's kind of, you know.
That's just because it's 2020, Hubert, we'll say no
it's
more.
It's the COVID year.
So, Hubert, this person has some wildflowers that they only planted earlier this year, and they're just starting to bloom now, but now they have to be moved to another location. Do you remember this was in the rocky kind of picture?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think there's a method I should use to disrupt them as little as possible, and are they likely to survive?
Yeah, I saw one of the plants, and I think it's sweet pea. Right?
Yeah.
Sweet pea is going to die off anyhow. You know, so you wouldn't be saving it. You know, if you want to save, you save the seed pods, right? And you grow it again next year. But judging that soil would need to be redug. Throw in you know, so if you have manure, grand. If you have, you know, even compost, throw the compost into it.
Yeah.
And just, you know, sieve it a bit. Get rid of any stones, big stones that are in there, out of it.
Yeah.
And you're good to go.
Okay, lovely. This person has Stalky Lavendar, and what should she do at the end of the season? Should it be cut right back to the bottom?
No.
No. Okay, what do we do?
You don't cut lavender right back to the bottom.
Okay.
You cut lavender back, but you must leave green on it.
Okay.
So, you know, you cut it back, you know, I'll just show you here for a second.
Okay.
Right. On this, right, I'm not going to actually cut it because there's flowers and the bees are still on it, but you cut it back to about there.
Okay.
Right, and of course you can use all your lavender to put in, you know, I think
your pillow.
Yeah, exactly. And they smell beautiful, and they're very soothing.
Yeah.
But yes, don't cut it right back to the wood, or you can say goodbye to it.
Okay.
Now, what I would say to you is, take cuttings off and put them, you know, take say 10 cuttings, put them somewhere, and at least 2 or 3 of them may germinate. You know, they may send out roots.
Yeah.
That way then you have a backup. If it comes where you're not liking that anymore, you think it's too woody, you can start fresh again.
Lovely.
You know?
Good tip, Hubert.
That's what we do down here in the garden.
Yeah. Now, how do we kill dandelions in flower beds without the use of weed killer? I've been picking them out by the root, but they keep coming back. Will it never end?
Right. What I think might be the problem is that you're trying to take them out after they've flowered, right? And the seeds are dropping onto the bed. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a possibility. I don't know because I'm not actually really there. But definitely sure, when you get the root of a dandelion, it should not come back.
Okay.
You know, and basically, but do it. Hate saying this because I'm a beekeeper, but do it either before it comes into flower or it's in flower, not after the flower has died off.
Okay.
Because then the seeds are ready to go into the ground and grow again.
It's going to cycle.
You know what I mean? So you're just keeping the cycle going.
That's perfect. What is the best organic fertiliser for clay acidic soil for flowers and plants? The plants that I'm talking about are ferns and heathers.
Okay, in the garden centres they sell aeraceous soil.
Okay.
And that's for the likes of rhododendrons, you know, your heathers, blueberry I think it is.
Okay.
Right? But yeah, they sell this soil already prepared, you know, so you just have to go in and buy it by the bag.
Is it in the Green Garden Centre?
Yeah, it would be in the Green Garden Centre, you know.
Okay. What is the best flowering plant for a rockery that has a lot of moisture in winter but is very dry in the summer?
Right, there's one plant, it's called mountain aster. It's a succulent.
Succulent, okay.
It has a beautiful flower on it.
Okay.
But again, like you could go in and really, the best advice you get would be in a good garden centre. You know, they would tell you, you know, what to put in your rockery. But mainly in a rockery, it's all succulents.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. I want to transplant a fire poker plant. How is this done and when should it be done? And also the same for a rose bush. How and when do I do it, and when is the best time of year?
Okay, best time of year is in autumn. You know, when everything is died back, and when everything is that, because the roots, everything is dormant then, right? So then you would dig it up, right? Get as much root as you can with it, and then transplant it. Okay. Now the red hot poker, the same thing. You would dig it up, that's a great self-seeder, the red hot poker. So
is it okay?
Right? But again, everything in autumn is when you want to dig it up and then transplant it. You know?
Best to treat compacted soil.
Well, you mean the best way to treat compacted soil is to dig it up, you know, and break it up, right?
Okay.
And then add in some compost into it, you know, take out any large stones, you know, put it through a fairly big sieve, and eventually you'll have exactly good soil, you know.
Okay.
It takes a bit of work, you know, a bit of horse manure always improves, and it also depends on what you want to grow in there, you know, what you're growing. Like if you're growing brassicas or cabbages and that, yeah, definitely you need to put horse manure in and everything, they'll thrive on it, you know.
Okay. I've recently scarified my lawn. What is the best type of lawn seed for clay soil that holds moisture, plenty of sun all day?
That's a thing that I have to tell you, you have to go into a garden centre.
Okay.
And you ask, they have various different grass seeds, so you would have to go in and tell them what grass seed is best for what you need.
Okay. What is the best way and time of year to successfully take cuttings from a shrub?
Well, there's two times. You can take in the spring, when the new shoots are coming on, you can take cuttings then.
Okay.
Right? But definitely, if you're going to be doing cuttings, get your a tin of hormone rooting powder. Right? It's a powder that encourages the growth, the plant to produce roots, right? The cutting. And I do cuttings of geraniums, right? Probably lavender, going into autumn. And I would pot them up, and I will leave them out next spring. And some of them make it, some won't make it. But you'll get a percentage that do make it, and then you transplant them on, and before you know it, you have a whole new plant.
Okay,
right?
Lovely. What types of shrubs or small trees are good to put in a shaded area of the garden?
There's several different varieties of dwarf trees. You know, again, you have to go to the nurseries, and they will explain all that to you.
Okay.
You know, it's
a very specific question.
A specific question, yeah.
That's grand. Okay, this one I think now you'll like. I am planning to create a very small vegetable patch towards the end of August. What are the best veg to start me off, and can I mix vegetables with herbs, or should I keep them separated?
Well, I would keep their herbs separated from their veg.
Okay.
Because herbs grow very vigorous. You know, so you give them a separate area to themselves. If you're growing mint, keep mint in pots, because it will race all over the place on you.
Okay.
Going into the winter, there are winter cabbages you can buy. Pixie, I think, is one. Okay. You know, they will be selling them in the garden centres. You can grow lettuce. Certain types of lettuce will grow going into the winter. Onions, a definite one, right? Leeks, right? So you can grow all these, you know.
All these winter veg.
These are
basically.
winter veg, exactly, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what we would grow.
Lovely. We have 4 tomato plants in our back porch. They are now almost 6 feet tall, and there is not a sign of a tomato on them. What are we doing wrong?
My guess is that you started feeding them too early. Right? And what's happened is all that feed and energy has gone into the foliage as opposed to into the fruit. Now, you should never feed tomato plants before they flower. You wait till they flower, then you feed, right? Then the goodness goes into making the fruit. Now, you need to side shoot tomatoes, which is very, very important. And that is between the main stem and the branch in here. You pick all them out, all the way up. At this stage now, if they haven't got tomatoes on them,
it's just a lovely green plant.
Yeah, absolutely, enjoy it.
Okay. Okay, so this person has holly in a bulb section of the hedge, and what is the best time of year to sow? So can they take holly from another part of the garden and replant it there, or are they better off getting it in a garden centre?
Well, they could chance transplanting it.
Okay.
Right, now, but as we know, holly is a kind of a Christmas plant, right? I would chance trying to dig it out, get as much root as you can with it, right? And transplant it. You know, I would do it now, right? And you're taking a chance. It may work, it may not. And like, you answered your own questions away, go to the garden centre if it doesn't work.
Okay, so we'll give it a shot here first. And
give it a shot, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so how to properly deadhead roses. Mine are climbing ones, this person says. I don't know, should I be cutting the heads off them, etc.? Have you any advice?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the whole thing about deadhead, is that you actually cut the head off, right? And what it does is encourages more growth, right? It encourages the plant to send out new buds.
Can you explain how cosmos self-seed if they are annuals? I do not understand this, and does it mean that they will come back next year or not? Should I still harvest the seeds?
Well, the answer to that is yes, you should always harvest seeds.
Okay.
I mean, and anybody who has a garden should always harvest their seeds, right? They should label them, date them, right, and put them away safely.
Are they just best stored in a dry container in a sealed envelope?
In a dry container, yeah. They have to make sure that the seed is dried out before they put it into an envelope or anything like that.
Okay,
right?
perfect.
Now you can dry it out in your room on the windowsill anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, but just make sure it's dry, because you know that's another case where the seed will perish if there's any dampness on it. It'll perish, right? So as to the self seed, right? Cosmos, like any flower, will drop its seed in the soil. Right, another one that does that is calendula, right? Or some people call them marigolds, right?
Oh, yeah.
But they self-seed everywhere, you know. But to be certain sure that if you want cosmos next year, that's you save your seed and you plant them again next year.
Okay, perfect. How often should I put manure on a flower bed? I put it on at the start of the summer, and the cosmos, the roses and the lavender are flying. So do I need to put more down, or do I hold off?
No, you don't need to put more down. I would say you're good to go for the next 2 years anyhow, right? And then probably repeat the process. But you don't want to overload it with manure.
Okay.
You know? So yes, you've done it this year, you've had a great crop. I'd wait, leave it as is till next year, and then the soil next year's, well, do I need to do this the following year? You know?
If it's thriving again next year, hold off again.
Yeah, hold off. Yeah. You don't want to overload it.
And then on the topic of manure, where is the best place to get manure? And have you got any tips around it?
Yeah, if you know of any riding stables around it, equestrian centres, yeah, it's good to go there. Bring a bag with you. I'm sure they wouldn't probably even charge you for it, because they have to get rid of it.
Okay.
You know, so and then when you get it, it may be too fresh, so you have to hold on to it till it rots down.
Okay.
And if you have it in a plastic bag, let it do it in that. It'll break it down over time, and then use it.
Okay. And do you just lay it down on the lawn, or do you mix it in with the soil?
I wouldn't be putting it on the lawn now.
Yeah.
Right. Like you mix it in with soil. Right. And most people, like, who've grown their vegetables, well, when their vegetables are finished, they clean out the bed and dig it in then.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect.
So you dig it into the soil.
And then how do I cut rhubarb, Hubert? Do I split it or remove the root? Can I put a knife through the root and move it closely away to self-seed?
Yeah. You can put a spade through it.
Okay.
Break it in half. Right.
Okay.
Take it and move it.
Okay.
But like that, I would do that. I would wait till the rhubarb is finished on you know, this, and then break it and move it. You know, and get as much root out as you can with it. You know what I mean? Like, just dig right down into the centre of it.
Okay. And finally, this person has got hanging baskets in both their front and back garden. The ones in the front are not thriving at all. The one in the back garden is thriving.
Sun, no sun.
Yeah, and that's what's happening. So the darker area is the front.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of stronger flower or thing that can be used for the hanging baskets in the front that they might thrive a bit more on?
Going forward, nasturtiums do very well in hanging baskets.
Nasturtiums,
yeah.
okay.
But you see, if it's starved of sunlight all day, and a hanging basket is such a small area, right? Yeah. That you know, they really should be in sunny spots, you know. But nasturtiums, lobelias, you know, petunias, right, trailing petunias, they all do well in hanging baskets, you know. But it will not do as well as a hanging basket that's in full sun and getting well watered and fed, you know. But they should do all right.
Yeah, lovely. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks a million, Hubert.
Not at all. You're welcome.
You out of the hot seat for about another 5 minutes before we get more questions. Thanks a mil.